Bless all the paths our feet walk to be free. Bless all the paths our feet walk to be free. Yeah.
So, a couple of weeks ago, Miss Becky was talking to me and said, hey, I have a great idea for a talk. Earth Day is coming up. And I'm like, ooh, yes, it is. So I'm going to do a little reading to you at the beginning here and do a little bit of history on Earth Day. Because until I read this, I didn't know it. I had no idea how Earth Day started. The idea came to an Earth Day founder named Gaylord Nelson, then a U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, after witnessing the ravages of the 1969 massive oil spills in Santa Barbara, California. Inspired by the student war, anti-war movement, he realized that if he can infuse that same energy with an emerging public's consciousness about air and water pollution, it would force environmental protection onto the national political agenda. Senator Nelson announced the idea for a national teach-in on the environment to the national media, persuaded Pete McCloskey, a conservation-minded Republican congressman, I know that sounds kind of foreign now, to serve his co-chair, and recruited Dennis Hayes as national coordinator. Hayes built a national staff of 85 people to promote events across the land. As a result, on April 22nd, 20 million Americans took to the streets, parks, and auditoriums to demonstrate for a healthy, sustainable environment in massive coast-to-coast rallies. Thousands of colleges and universities organized protests against the deterioration of the environment. Groups that had been fighting against oil spills, polluting factories and power plants, raw sewage, toxic dumps, pesticides, freeways, loss of wilderness, and the extinction of wildlife suddenly realized they shared common values. Earth Day 1970 achieved a rare political alignment, enlisting support from Republicans and Democrats, rich and poor, city slickers and farmers, tycoons and labor leaders. The first Earth Day led to the creation of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, or what we lovingly know as the EPA, and the passage of the Clean Air, Clean Water, and Endangered Species Act. It was a gamble, Gaylord recalled, but it worked. As 1990 approached, a group of environmental leaders asked Dennis Hayes to organize another big campaign. This time, Earth Day went global, mobilizing 200 million people in 141 countries and lifting environmental issues onto the world stage. Earth Day 1990 gave a huge boost to the recycling efforts worldwide and helped pave the way for the 1992 United Nations Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. It also prompted President Bill Clinton to award Senator Nelson the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1995, which is the highest honor given to a civilian in the United States, for his role as the Earth Day founder. As the millennium approached, Hayes agreed to spearhead another campaign, this time focused on global warming and a push for clean energy. I'm rebooting my mouth. With 5,000 environmental groups in a record 184 countries reaching out to hundreds of millions of people, Earth Day 2000 combined the big picture feistiness of the Earth Day with the international grassroots activism of Earth Day 1990. It used the internet to organize activists, but also featured a talking drum chain that traveled from village to village in Gabon, Africa. That got me too, because you could just visualize the people there. And hundreds of thousands of people have gathered on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Earth Day 2000 sent world leaders the loud and clear message that citizens around the world wanted quick and decisive action on clean energy. Much like 1970, Earth Day 2010 came at a time of great challenge for the environmental community. Climate change deniers, well-funded oil lobbyists, reticent politicians, a disinterested public, and a divided environmental community all contributed to a strong narrative that overshadowed the cause of progress and change. In spite of the challenge, for its 40th anniversary, Earth Day Network reestablished Earth Day as a powerful focal point around which people could demonstrate their commitment. Earth Day Network brought 225,000 people to the National Mall for a climate rally, amassed 40 million environmental service actions towards its 2012 goal of a billion acts of green, launched an international 1 million tree planting initiative with Avatar director James Cameron, and tripled its online base to over 900,000 community members. So that's just a little history of Earth Day. And as we look at it now, as I was doing this research for it, I was trying to do a little bit of how it's celebrated around the earth. And I took a right-hand turn on you because I couldn't find some of the things, but what I did find is a lot of what Becky said in meditation today, a lot of what she said as she was talking and praying into the tithe. Thank you. I guess I'll have to reboot it again. Of what we can do from here and from a here and now place. There's so many different things going on in the world right now. Rev Sue was here last week for Amy, and when we were talking before the concert, she was telling me about a guy named Reverend Michael Dowd. And the Earth Day consciousness, or the global climate change, the ecologic climate change, all the different aspects of it, and how the New Thought community and different religions, different places of faith all around the world are really becoming active. I really invite you to look into this gentleman, because he's a wonderful speaker. He's got a lot of positive things to say, and he's very intelligent. He's very profound. He's done a lot of different research, and I think you would really enjoy watching what he's got to offer. But I had already wrote my talk when she told me that, so I'm like, go look at his websites. Go find out all the different ways and all the different groups that are organizing and coming together, as this was saying, people who were started at odds, started on different sides of the spectrum, how this common cause created a unity that is going all around the world.
What's his name again? Reverend
Michael Dowd.
Dowd. Michael.
Yes.
I said James Dowd, no?
Michael.
It was Michael. Okay, Michael Dowd.
Yeah. James Dowd is probably a nice fellow too, but this is but this guy is one that Sue recommended, and I watched a couple of his videos online. There's one, Science versus Nature, Science versus Religion. There's a couple different websites that talk about, well, all of this stuff that Becky was talking about in meditation, what we're going to talk about today. So if I have my very next page, please. Oh, actually, we're going to do some light change, so if somebody can turn the lights off. Por favor. Am I shadowing? Okay, so. You know, as we are in this world is ours to visit. It's ours to take joy in, it's ours to take part in, it's ours to have joy and wonderful times in. This is a beautiful scene from Horseshoe Bend in Arizona, in the Grand Canyons. And it's beautiful, and you can just see the person. I would probably be, my heart would be beating sitting on the edge of the cliff right there. But I like looking at the picture, and I would probably take a few steps back, but this bold person is sitting right there on the edge, just looking at the wonder and the majesty of Horseshoe Bend. And in this wonderful world, we have both. And part of my Earth Day presentation today isn't just going to be fluff. It's going to give you both. We may have our next slide, please. Or you can visit the uranium mines in the Grand Canyon and just breathe into this. Breathe into the fact that for every wonderful thing we see in nature, we're also seeing different things that we have done to nature, and that we're hurting our own selves. You can visit here in this wonderful uranium mine, and if I may have the next page, please, and take a tour on this wonderful bus with all the smoke spewing out of the top of it. And it's about bringing consciousness into our world with this, bringing an understanding that we do have an action, and we'll get more into that. When we have the next slide, please. So, I am not going to try to pronounce that. It's somewhere in Iceland, and it sounds like me clearing my throat. So, there, in Iceland. But just get your passports ready. I mean, look how beautiful. This, yes, exactly. Yes. We could have a whole day of just all of us trying to pronounce this. But look at the awe and wonder of the Northern Lights here, and the horses, and just the plateau there, and just the beautiful terrain. It's majestic. It's something that I can see myself just falling into. Or, may I have the next page, please? Make sure to stop here if you want to get a nice breath of fresh air. This is somewhere in Iceland, too. What?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Amen. Cool.
They've gone totally geo now.
Good. So these are old pictures. And a lot of the things you're going to see today, I'm doing on purpose. And there is more forward-thinking people, but the whole idea of Earth Day is bringing about this change, this understanding, this mental change. Next page, please. If you want to travel someplace that's not too far, just take a local vacation. This is Hamilton Pools in Austin, Texas, USA. And it looks just beautiful, refreshing, just a wonderful day to spend with the family. Or, if I may have the next page, you can take a dip in the Port of Houston and just breathe into this too. May have the next page, where you can take a dip here. Look, they already have all the floaties for the kids to play with. And just breathing into this. So, if I can have the next page. This is a nice visit to South America. Glacier Grey in Torres del Paine, National Park, Chile. And it's just majestic. And you just sit here and he's standing on a mirror, it looks like. And after you go backpacking with him, if I can have the next page, you can go for a canoe ride with this guy. And just breathing into the fact that, you know, this is our Earth, and this is some of the things that have happened to our Earth, and to just be aware of it, because sometimes, and I know we all want to create a wonderful world, and I know that in a New Thought place we always think positively, but sometimes that thinking positively makes people ignore what is right in front of their faces. And the founder of this, going back to the very beginning of the history of this, was unwilling to ignore it anymore. And there's a lot of us that are just unwilling to ignore it anymore. And where am I? If I may have the next page, please. This is the Muir Woods in California. And that's, you know, I would love to go on a hike there. It's just beautiful and majestic. Just going through the trees and the trails. And like Becky was saying before in meditation, that every single thing that in this forest, everything that lives under the bridge, all those are life to be respected, and to acknowledge that they're all part of an ecosystem that keeps us on the planet as well. Or after a hike with this wonderful place, you can go for a nice, may I have the next page? Nope, stroll on the beach in California. And just breathe into this, knowing that there are beaches that we have that do look like this, and there are a lot of people cleaning them up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's about understanding and visualizing and getting it in our bodies so that we can know that ignorance is bliss type scenario. I've changed the word ignorant to ignorant and made it more of a noun, that's what you're doing. You're an ignorant. You're ignoring what is right in front of us. And so many of us have done this, and we put our blind eyes on, and we only want to see the fluffy. And it's like, yes, this is a beautiful planet we're on, and this is also happening too. May I have the next slide, please? This is Minnesota, and this is Minnehaha Falls in Minnesota, U.S. And it's just, it's beautiful, and this looks like it's frozen right now, so this is obviously the winter. May I have the next slide?
It could be August in Minnesota.
Or a beautiful, majestic waterfall like this. Just to take this in and to be part of this and just to watch and look at the beauty, the way the sunlight is creating all the different colors and the blue hues that happen. It's just wonderful. Or, if I may have the next slide, we can visit these waterfalls. Yummy. I don't know what this green goo is, but it looks scary. It looks very scary. And if I may have the next slide, we can have, this is Sicily, a romantic vacation to the lovely Sicily. It's a beautiful sunset to just enjoy, take in, bask in. If I may have the next slide. And then after you're done, you can go for a stroll in the streets of Naples. I think it's cleaned up too. And see, now this is part of where the Earth Day part of this has all come in, and the founder and the principles and the mindset of people, that these are things that have gone on. And this is a BYO face masks type scenario, because, you know, the guy standing there all day probably had to do that because he's a traffic cop, or I'm assuming in the picture. that would probably be hard to do that all day. And as much as this may be cleaned up, there's still a lot of places in the world that haven't been, and that's what this is about. This is about this getting this one mind type scenario so that we can all enjoy this. So if I may have the next slide. Cocoa Beach. What if we just wanted to stay local and stay in our own local state of Florida? It's the Cocoa Beach Pier. At sunrise, since we're on the East Coast. But it looks like a sunset, so imagine whatever you want. It's beautiful and majestic. If you ever go to the Keys, you can do both. So you can have sunrise and sunset. And, of course, there's been some things that's happened to our lovely state that, if I could have the next frame, please. This is all part of, what happened with the oil spills. And it's like, we're kind of lucky that we didn't live over there and have to see all this. And there's a lot of wonderful people that came together to help this cause and to help clean up our beaches and to clean up all the messes that these oil companies made from their money-making policies. And it's still going on. And there's still cleanup going on. There's still a lot of tragedy going on, and there's also a lot of wonder going on. So, these are all part of the beauty and the wonder in our world. Can I have the next page, please, just so we can get our eyes off of that? I wrote this a long time ago, a couple of years ago, and I did it in a talk for Symphony of Nature, and it actually works out perfectly. And I'm just going to read it to you. It's called A Symphony of Nature. Daybreak dawns as I greet the sun, a symphony of nature, a new day begun. Foragers forage as songbirds will sing, each of life's critters just doing their thing. I watch and I notice an interesting fact. It seems within nature there's an unwritten pact, a symbiotic rhythm that keeps everything aflow, an innately known message when to come and to go. As snakes slither silkily amidst the grasses and roots, I have never seen an owl or an eagle pollute. I've never observed a hawk ruin its own home, or a buffalo build fences unable to roam. I've never witnessed a deer build a cage in a tree, so it may drape on its wall some remnant of me. I've yet to be privy to watch a whale swim ashore and dump oil and garbage and plastic galore. I cannot remember in all of my time spotting a wolf or a cricket commit any of these crimes. Is it our nature to destroy and divide whilst the rest of life's creatures run off to hide? Extinction of rhythm in the air and the seas writes the extinction of you and the disappearance of me. So wake up your sisters, your brothers asleep. This land called Earth Mother is ours for the keep. To preserve and give back, to replenish and reseed. As we nurture this land, it's ourselves that we feed. So be like the cricket, the tiger and snake. Take your place on this planet, make no mistake. Your conscious choice to clean up and give back, surrender and yield instead of destroy and attack, truly can shift the demise in our sights, restore freshness to air and darkness to nights. Allow us our eyes realign to twilight of dusk, our bodies and senses readapt to our musk. Let weather and wind once again be our lead, a firm balance with nature be our most critical of creeds. May I have the next slide, please? What can you do for your Earth Mother? And there's so many different pictures of Earth Mothers. Gaia, cosmic pictures, Native American pictures, seductive pictures, because it's a very fertile thing, and I didn't think that'd be appropriate for us in live streaming and children that be watching. Although the human body is a wonderful natural thing that ne'er should be ashamed of. But this was a nice one, and it just shows her pouring the love and creation into the earth. But what can we do for our Earth Mother? Can I have the next slide, please? Earth Day. What is your relationship with the earth? This is where I'm just going to stop for a minute and talk. It's like, this is some of what Michael Dowd was talking about in these videos that you can watch. We all have a relationship with the planet, whether you're aware of it or not. You may be ignoring and being ignorant what your relationship is with the earth, and maybe you never even do things wrong, like I don't litter, I'm a good person. But what about your true relationship? If I'm in relationship with someone, that means it's a giving and a flowing, a giving and a receiving. When I was a young boy, I smoked, well, not a young boy, a young teenager, and I still littered. I was still a teenager, I was still in adolescence. And it took me to I dumped an ashtray out in a parking lot. And yeah, but I was 16, so my adolescent mind was more caring about my car than the parking lot until I saw it. Because I'd seen many of people flick their cigarette out the window before. It's almost common practice for smokers. But when I looked down, something landed on me really, really big. And it looked disgusting. And it hurt my own feelings when I did it, which was hard for me to process in the moment as a 16, 17-year-old, actually 17, not understanding his own wisdom or that what wisdom really was, my own connection to the planet. I remember the Indian guy we saw on TV, which was actually an Italian that I told people about, but anyway. And I saw his face too. And I've always been attracted to the Native American philosophies, but this impacted me. This is what shifted the change in me. And I never littered again. And when I've had accidental litters, like you open your window and that loose piece of plastic on the floor in your back seat goes flying out the window, it landed on me in a big way. And I made sure that I did something that compensated for it. Scott and I used to do this all the time, where we would just pick up cigarette butts for the people that have littered. For the times in our life that we know we did flick it out the window, or the times we did litter, be it accidentally or on purpose, because in my youth I wasn't as present with the planet as I am now. And I'm very grateful to this guy inside and to my own spirit that I learned this lesson very young. But what relationship are we in with this planet? There's more than just I walk on it. There's more than just, yes, it sustains me. As we go here more and more, do we treat it like a friend? Do we treat it like a lover? Have you ever made love with nature? Can you even fathom what that might mean? To just sit there and embrace and sit in the wonders of nature and have a moment of making love? And it doesn't mean it's a sexual experience. It's a matter of just knowing that all creation, we just sang this song, is part of us, to truly have this wonderful interaction with the Earth Mother and with all the different critters that live within, without, in the atmosphere. Everything from every microbe in the whole universe, we can extend ourselves out. But let's hang out on the planet for a little while longer and just breathe into this, that this is what Earth Day celebration is all about. The Earth really doesn't need us. The Earth doesn't need humans at all. We need the Earth. Does anyone here think that the Earth needs our resources? Does anyone think that the Earth needs our technology? Is there anything that we've ever done technologically that has advanced the Earth? All these things are for us, and technology is a wonderful thing when we use it in the right space. We did a talk a few weeks ago called Right Use of Will. This is another aspect to use our right use of will and to truly combine with each other in a good way to take care of our planet, to be part of it, to know that we are a living being, and so is our Mother Earth. It's a living being. And I wouldn't go and kick one of you, but when I do certain things, maybe not me personally anymore, but I have to look at my usage in the world. What's really at stake here? I need to make sure I'm in the right place. May I have the next slide here? This is what's at stake. It's our climate, it's our actions, our future. We can clean up this world. May I have the next page? How? Wasn't that fun? Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Becky talked about this a little bit in her meditation. But there's so many different more ways we can learn how to reduce, reuse, and recycle. I mean, I'm switching light bulbs to CFLs as much as I can. I'm recycling as much as I can. But what other ways we can do for our own planet? It's like I really would prefer the palmetto bugs stay on the outside of my domain. And I have, and sometimes do, use bug spray. And what I'm trying to find is alternative measures, and they're out there. And I know that I had ants in my kitchen, and I'm not going to bug spray in my house. So there's an orange citrus spray that you can use that they just don't like, nor do cockroaches or a lot of other critters that we would prefer to stay outside. And instead of killing them, we're just repelling them. We're just saying, here's a boundary. And this way we're actually being in a cohesive relationship with the Earth Mother and still being human beings that may not want that spider crawling in your house. Because I know as much as I love my spiders, brothers, and sisters, I would really, really, really prefer them to be on the outside of the house. Especially that size, the one that was here when Mel was playing the keyboard that day. It's like, wolf spiders are pretty docile little critters. They're very wonderful beings. They take care of the other things that would bug us, but they're scary and hairy. And it gets something in that primordial part of us that must have was used to living in caves and did have a lot of bugs that could get us. And it gives us that natural instant creep zone. And they're actually I have a dead spider named Bob that I use for the tactile stimulation of it so I can get over my fear. And it has worked because now I don't just kill it. I go and try to find the Tupperware, the paper plate, or whatever that can save it and bring it outside. So knowledge helps us empower ourselves as well. The more I learn about the plants and animals or anything in life, the less I will fear it. So as I learned all the different poisonous snakes in Florida, I'm like, okay, well, now I recognize you. I may be startled because it's a snake, but I'm not afraid of you. I have to respect you. I have to give you your distance because, well, you're a lizard. You're a reptile. You're dealing with a reptile instinctual brain. If I come at you in a certain way, you're going to want to fight or flight. And they're very quick. So I would prefer to give them their boundaries and their girth. And I welcome them because I know I've got snakes in my yard. One showed up yesterday when we were doing yard work. And they live under my pool and they live under the shed and they keep rodents and things that are yucky that would bring disease that I would prefer to stay away from. And that's part of that natural ecosystem too. So I just allow the fact that I know a snake is there, and when I go outside, I'm very aware and look, or I make a lot of noise because they can feel you coming. And this way we can have a symbiotic relationship. And again, the same rules I put out there to all the critters out there. I would prefer if you stay out of the house. It's just a funny thing, I'd rather have no snakes in the house unless I was visiting Becky and it has a nice cage and, aquarium or something they can go in. But this is about knowing that this is our climate, this is our future. These are all the different things that we can do. Reduce, reuse, recycle. One of the things I do with energy in my house, instead of saying, oh, remember to shut that off, I'm like, hey, let's send that energy somewhere else. And that's something I'm doing to train my own brain. Instead of that old, shut the light off, let's send it somewhere else. Because the moment I click off, it gets to go somewhere else. And then everybody can have the balance of energy because we do like electricity. Couldn't do this presentation without it. Technology still is a wonderful thing for us, and we have to use it in a way that is in balance with all. So as we can find these new ways of doing this and have the mindset and the wanting to it, we can all be united in the same thing. Can I have the next frame, please? Earth friendly. We talked about this a second ago when I was saying different ways to have bug repellents. But there's also a lot of different cleanses that we can use out there that are eco-friendly. I'm learning more and more and more because sometimes they're a little bit more expensive. They're not as convenient to get. And it's to be within the space of this is my intention. And if I can intend, and if we can intend this more and more and more, well, then they'll make more of these products. And then the cost will go down. It's that simple supply and demand thing. So these are some of the different things that we can do. But why do we want to do this? May I have the next page? For love. For love of the planet. For love of our friend. For love of a thing that we are part of and that, again, does not need us. The earth has been here for billions of years. Humans haven't. The earth can do whatever it's going to do to take care of itself and is. And we have an opportunity to come together as Earth Day and the people and the mindset around it has so that we can have a wonderful planet to live on. May I have the next? For majesty and the awe. Yeah, I was going to leave you with happy pictures, not yucky pictures. For just a scene like this, may I have the next frame? For wonder and just how grand this earth is in its creations. May I have the next page? And for her. So that she may live without someone wanting to decorate their wall with her. And that doesn't mean people that hunt in a good way to sustain themselves. Different energy we're talking here. May I have the next page? And for them. There's so many of our species that in our own lifetime have just, in the last 40 years, have become extinct. And the positive note is that is what Becky said a moment ago, that there's so many more that are coming into existence as well. So we can breathe into this and breathe into the ones and say farewell, thank you for your service, and do what we can to bring more life and more abundance so that they can live as long as they want to. And can I have the next one? And for our oceans. Isn't she beautiful? In the next page. For our friends. You know, dolphins, they're one of the most intelligent beings on the planet. I think science is still wondering if they use more, if they have more sentient consciousness than they even knew about. They've brought us things like sonar, echolocation. Without dolphins, we have learned so much from dolphins, and they have a perpetual smile. They're always smiling. If you look at some of the Native American philosophies and teachings on dolphins, they teach us how to play as well, but they also teach us about balance and the ebb and flow. These are very truly magical creatures, along with every single creature that we've seen and not seen. It's just breathing into it and thanking them. May I have the next slide? Time to give a hoot. And be the change. An owl itself represents change. And they're always seeing. And they can tell if you're lying or not. If you ever looked right in an owl's eyes, even if it's just a picture, it looks like it's looking right through you, and it knows. And it knows that you have within you the ability to change. May I have the next slide? So no more monkey business or scapegoats, because we could do that very... I can't believe I found this picture. Because it worked perfectly. To just realize that we sometimes want to blame everybody else, when if we take action right here, that just like every single thing else, it will ripple out. It just will keep rippling out. May I have the next page? Time to walk pure and proud. The purity of the white, the majesty of a peacock, and all it's proud as a peacock, but we are allowed to be proud of our planet. We're allowed to have pride in living well with the earth. We're allowed to take joy and revel in our own consciousness of knowing that we're existing on a planet that's here for us. And we have to give back to her and to all the different creatures that are on this planet so that we can all live in harmony with each other. Next, please. Time to let our spirit soar. As much as we pray for all the different things, we pray into the country every week, praying for our planet and letting it soar as high as eagle flies, and so it may reach great spirit, just like all the prayers do, so that we can all just live and wonder in this joy. May I have the next one? Transform our destiny. You know, last week Amy was talking about the goo between caterpillar and butterfly stage. Well, that's exactly what butterfly represents, is transformation, and this is what Earth Day is about. It's about transformation and transforming the goo back into the beauty of a butterfly. May I have the next one, please? It's for their future. May I have the next one? For his future. And finally, the next one. And for ours. This is what it's all about, folks. All those different babies that you just saw may still live here. And we want these babies to be able to enjoy the things that we have in our generations of past. to just sit there and be able to appreciate the wonder of our earth. Thank you, Home Talk House. And now I'm going to sing for you. So, a lot of you know that David Roth is like my folk hero. He's my favorite folk singer and New Thought singer, and this is a song called Earth, which I thought would be appropriate since we're doing an Earth Day talk.
Sorry.
Not a problem. When we can live without anger. Dream of a time when we can live without pain. Dream of a way that we can live without hunger. And dream of a sign that the earth can be peaceful again. What can we do to get our people looking higher? What do you do in the darkness but look for the light? Oh, we can join hands and do whatever we desire, and we'll never fail as long as our reasons are right. We're gonna live in peace. It's our only chance on earth. We'll get all that fighting to cease and remember what life is worth. Each of us has the power to bring about changes. Though society separates us from the time of our birth, we won't live here much longer if we live as strangers, and no time at all if we don't learn how to live with the earth. Combining our efforts instead of being parted, sharing a vision that we will have a new dawn. Remember that love is how it all got started, and don't you know that love will keep it going even after we're gone. What can we give the earth that we haven't given in the past? A way to live here on earth, make it last and last and last. Dream of a day when we can live in communion. Dream of a time when we can live without fear. Awaken a way to get all of us working together, and know that the time when the earth can be peaceful is near. Know that our thoughts and our actions are honest and clear. And know that the people on earth will be safe from all fear. And know that the time when the earth can be peaceful is near.
Bless all the paths our feet walk to be free. Bless all